Ah, well, hello there. I'm so glad you could join me. Who am I? Well, I'm the narrator, of course. It's my job to sit here with a big fancy book and a fancy sweater and to tell you the tale of Peter Rabbit. Well, I won't just be telling a tale. You'll be helping me. You see, at certain points in the story, I'll need your help to decide what Peter should do. You'll see two different chapters which follow different choices you can make. Simply click on the choice you want to follow. Now, without further delay, let us tell the tale of Peter Rabbit by Beatrix Potter. Once upon a time, there were 4 little rabbits, and their names were Flopsy, Mopsy, Cottontail, and Peter. They lived with their mother in a sandbank, underneath the root of a very big fir tree. "Now, my dears," said old Mrs. Rabbit one morning, "you may go into the fields or down the lane, but don't go into Mr. McGregor's garden. Your father had an accident there. He was put in a pie by Mrs. McGregor. Now run along and don't get into mischief. I am going out." Then old Mrs. Rabbit took a basket and her umbrella and went through the wood to the baker's. She bought a loaf of brown bread and 5 currant buns. Should the bunnies go into the fields or down the lane? Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail, who were good little bunnies, went into the fields to gather rose hips and dandelions. Although Peter was a curious little rabbit, Mr. McGregor's farm was by this time a long way off, and so he joined his sisters as they roamed the fields. Strangely, whilst Peter's sisters were gathering rose hips, Peter saw a squirrel dancing near the tree line. Should Peter investigate this odd burlesque, or should he join his sisters? Peter, not feeling up to the task of dealing with a very odd-seeming fellow, decided to join his sisters in their day's work. That evening, for supper, they all enjoyed bread and rose hips and dandelion tea. The end. Peter, being a curious little bunny, decided to investigate this strange lad. By Jove! It seemed that this fellow might be the legendary Squirrel Nutkin. That would explain the strange dance he was doing. Just as Peter approached Nutkin, the squirrel jeered. "A man in the wilderness said to me, 'How many strawberries grow in the sea?' I answered him as I thought good." "As many red herrings as grow in the wood," Peter replied. Well done indeed," squealed Squirrel Nutkin. Suddenly from the underbrush appeared Nutkin's brother, Twinkleberry. "Nutkin," he cried, "you must come at once. We're to gather nuts from Owl Island." "Say," Nutkin said to Peter, his ears pricked up, "you're a witty fellow. Come with me, and we'll have lots of fun together on boring Owl Island." Peter, overjoyed at this prospect, promptly bounded off with his new friend. That night at the dinner table, however, Mrs. Rabbit tearfully lamented the disappearance of her only son. The end. "As much as the farmer thought that he could," Peter replied. "Wrong," Nutkin taunted. Soon Nutkin's brother, Twinkleberry, appeared, and without missing a beat, Nutkin scurried off with him, blowing a raspberry in Peter's direction. Peter, feeling slightly offended, harumphed back home and moped about in his bed. That night, he did not join his family for supper, as he was still upset from the teasing he had at the hands of Squirrel Nutkin. The end. Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail, who were good little bunnies, went down the lane to gather blackberries. But Peter, who was very naughty, ran straight away into Mr. McGregor's garden and squeezed under the gate. First, he ate some lettuce and some French beans, and then he ate some radishes. And then, feeling rather sick, should Peter go home or eat some parsley to cure his tummy ache? And then, feeling rather sick, he hopped back home. Seeing that he was no longer with his sisters, Mrs. Rabbit scolded Peter for his bad behavior. She then made him some chamomile tea for his sore belly. That evening, while the rest of his family was enjoying the blackberries they had gathered, Peter snuggled under his coat and blankets, thankful he didn't get into any more trouble. The end. And then, feeling rather sick, he went back to look for some parsley. But Round the end of a cucumber frame, who should he meet but Mr. McGreggor? Mr. McGregor was on his hands and knees planting out young cabbages, but he jumped up and ran after Peter, waving a rake and crying out, "Stop, thief!" Peter was most dreadfully frightened. He rushed all over the garden, but he had forgotten the way back to the gate. He lost one of his shoes among the cabbages and another shoe among the potatoes. Should Peter leave his shoes behind or run back to pick them up? After losing them, Peter quickly ran back to go fetch them. After all, they were his favorite shoes. However, Peter was not as fast as Mr. McGregor, who picked up Peter by the ears just as he was about to catch his shoes. "I've got you now, little rabbit." The end. After losing them, he ran on all four legs and went faster, so I think he might have gotten away altogether if he had not, unfortunately, run into a gooseberry net and got caught by the large buttons on his jacket. It was a blue jacket with brass buttons, quite new. Peter gave himself up for lost and shed big tears, but his sobs were overheard by some friendly sparrows, who flew to him in great excitement and implored him to exert himself. Should Peter shrug off his jacket or attempt to escape with it? Peter struggled to get his jacket free. After all, it was his most favorite jacket. But just as he was about to unstick himself, Mr. McGregor came up with a sieve and popped it atop of Peter. The end. Mr. McGregor came up with a sieve which he intended to pop atop of Peter, but Peter wriggled out just in time, leaving his jacket behind him, and rushed into a tool shed and jumped into a can. It would have been a beautiful thing to hide in if it had not had so much water in it. Mr. McGregor was quite sure that Peter was somewhere in the tool shed, perhaps hiding underneath a flower pot. He began to turn them over carefully, looking under each. Presently, Peter sneezed. "Ka-choo!" Should he escape through the door or through the window? Mr. McGregor was after him in no time, and he tried to put his foot atop of Peter, who dashed for the door. However, just as Peter was about to escape, Mr. McGregor wheeled around and caught the young bunny by the tail. "I've got you now, little rabbit." The end. Mr. McGregor was after him in no time, and he tried to put his foot upon Peter, who jumped out of a window, upsetting 3 plants. The window was too small for Mr. McGregor, and he was tired of running after Peter. He went back to his work. Peter sat down to rest. He was out of breath and trembling with fright, and he had not the least idea which way to go, and he was very damp with sitting in the can. After a time, he began to wander about, going lippity-lippity, not very fast, and looking all around. He found a door in a wall, but it was locked, and there was no room for a fat little rabbit to squeeze in underneath. An old mouse was running in and out over the stone doorstep, carrying peas and beans to her family in the wood. Peter asked her the way to the gate, but she had such a large pea in her mouth that she could not answer. She only shook her head at him. Peter began to cry. Then he tried to find his way straight across the garden, but he became more and more puzzled. Presently, he came upon a pond where Mr. McGregor filled his water cans. A white cat was staring at some goldfish. She sat very, very still, but now and then the tip of her tail twitched as if it were alive. Should Peter talk to the cat or leave her be? Peter, who had never spoken to a cat before, decided to ask her for directions. But the moment Peter approached, the cat gave a wicked smile and hopped down right in front of him. Suddenly, Peter realized why his cousin Benjamin had warned him so often about cats. The end. Peter thought it best to go away without speaking to her. He had heard about cats from his cousin, little Benjamin Bunny. He went back towards the tool shed, but suddenly, quite close to him, he heard the noise of a hoe. Screech, scratch, scratch, screech. Peter scurried underneath the bushes. Presently, as nothing happened, he came out and climbed upon a wheelbarrow and peeped over. The first thing he saw was Mr. McGregor hoeing his onions. His back was turned towards Peter, and beyond him was a gate. Should Peter dash for it, or should he wait it out? Peter got down very quietly off the wheelbarrow and started running as fast as he could go along a straight walk behind some blackcurrant bushes. Mr. McGregor caught sight of him from the corner, but Peter did not care. He slipped underneath the gate and was safe at last in the wood outside the garden. Mr. McGregor hung up the little jacket and shoes for a scarecrow to frighten the blackbirds. Peter never stopped running or looked behind until he got home to the big fir tree. He was so tired that he flopped down upon the nice soft sand on the floor of the rabbit hole and shut his eyes. His mother was busy cooking. She wondered what he had done with his clothes. It was the second little jacket and pair of shoes that Peter had lost in a fortnight. I am sorry to say that Peter was not doing very well that evening. His mother put him to bed and made him some chamomile tea, and she gave a dose of it to Peter. 1 tablespoonful to be taken before bedtime. But Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail had bread and milk and blackberries for supper. The end. Peter was very nervous about getting caught by Mr. McGregor, so he decided to wait for him to leave before running home. At this moment, however, Peter saw a mouse rustling among the cabbages. He wondered if she might be able to offer him some help. Should Peter talk to the mouse or leave her be? Peter sneakily snuck towards the little mouse, careful not to tip off Mr. McGregor. Soon, quietly among the cabbages, Peter whispered, "Who are you, little mouse?" She replied in a tiny voice, "I'm here visiting my cousins, but I'm originally from Gloucester." Peter had heard stories of mice from Gloucester, but he couldn't be sure she was one. "Wait, are you the mouse who helped that tailor with his waistcoat?" "The very same," she replied delightedly. "Can you perhaps help me?" Peter asked politely. "I seem to have lost my jacket and shoes today, and could use your help." The mouse from Gloucester smiled, and she showed Peter to her burrow. There with her cousins, they tailored him a new jacket and shoes. Seeing that it was dark, they invited Peter to stay the night, which he did happily. The next morning, Peter's mother and sisters were shocked to see that Peter was still in one piece, even more so that it appeared he had a brand new outfit. "Oh, Peter, you rapscallion," teased Mrs. Rabbit. "One of these days your mischief will turn my fur gray." The end. Not wanting to get into any more mischief, Peter decided to stand his post. Many hours later, when it was beginning to get dark, Mr. McGregor left the garden to go into his home. Peter, who could now no longer see the gate, settled in for a long night. It was cold without his jacket or his shoes, but he knew that at dawn tomorrow he would be able to return home. The end.